Welcome to a playthrough for the Solitaire Rules of Section K for Transhumanity. I won't go into a lot of the details on transhumanity. I will explain a little bit about the differences. There aren't many as far as the player is concerned. This is basically a typical setup. The artificial opponents have no need for money, and they don't place patents, and they also don't place employees. So basically, they just have all their cubes. The way the game goes is first the player takes a turn, which is pretty much normal, and then one of the global players will take its turn, and the order that it takes its turn basically in who has the fewest cubes placed. Otherwise it goes in the normal order. And so we shall start. I'm playing the doctor, the red player, basically, so I have more money. There are two modes for the solitaire. There's the one mode where it's basically easy, where you play with all three exoglobal players, and they have a deck of cards that decide what to do. In easy mode, the exo global deck that the artificial opponents use is face up, so you can kind of get a preview of what's going on. So we know that the artificial opponents use the icons differently than the player does. Some of them are pretty much the same, but some are very different. In this case, I know that on the artificial opponent's turn, they will place a syndication on to match the colors they have on this deck, and then they'll do the icons. In this case, they will place a company in the space or orange area on miniaturization. So I try to keep that in mind. The player does not use any of the actions when it does its playing. I drew hidden spheres for all of randomly for the artificial opponents, and then I chose green for my play. Due to some technical difficulties, I had to try to recreate the first about 5 turns of this game. So there are a few continuity errors, and also there's a couple of turns I wasn't really able to recreate. This is my starting state as the doctor. So I need to first decide what I'm going to try to do. Of course, in this game, the first actions tend to be researches. So what's available to be researched? In the first world, looks like there's a blue-green cultural autodidactism. This is actually an interesting one for at some point. So the first action costs, it's a fundraiser, might as well do a fundraiser first. So we offset some of our debt with capital and move everything up into capital. Now we're hiring, it costs 3. And then the employee comes from the top down. We'll hire into cynicism. Now it's the Exo Global player's turn. This is Blogger, or Blue. First they syndicate orange, orange. I need to syndicate orange, orange, the first one. And we also need to cover the white heat. The Exoglobal player doesn't cover the anti-black heat if it was visible, just the mandatory heat. Now they have a company. They place a company on miniaturization on orange. Put a company on miniaturization. Now we're going to research cultural autodidactism. So that will cost 4 since there's 2 barriers and this is not subsidized. Now we'll do some thinker work. I'm going to take that card into our think tank. Now we're going to syndicate for 1. Now it's the Exo player kernel, or black. First they syndicate on yellow, yellow. The kernel will syndicate yellow, yellow, and the first one is way over on the cloud. Now they get 2 companies. They get a company on yellow, and they also get a company on blue when the Exo Global player plays, or doesn't matter, they just use all the symbols. Put a company on cynicism. I'll also put a black company on adverse jurisdictions, since I get a choice here. I think we'd better fundraise. No capital, so we can't offset the debt, but we can move our wealth into capital. Now we'll commercialize, and this will cost 4 as there's 2 barriers, and this is not subsidized. For commercialization, I need to do some maker work, and then I'll just go down employed. A commercialized truth machine. Now we perform the impacts. We have a choice of which company we want. And green would be good, as that's our hidden sphere, except this is a rash startup for adverse jurisdictions where black happened to put one of its companies, and since the kernel has 2 companies out there already, I think I'll just go ahead and place my company there. So we'll go ahead and replace black's company with our company. Then we have a diffusal gross impact. We can take a new agent, but we need to put it onto a cover of black heat in the marketer display. And then I need to cover a black heat somewhere, and I'll do it on open access research. That goes down on green. Get a green patent. Since we used cultural autodidactism, since we used the think tank, we'll replace that in the spot we took it from. Now it's pink's turn. They'll syndicate yellow, yellow. Citizen or pink will syndicate yellow, yellow. Black already has one there. And now they'll do the social resilience for the exoglobal player. Social resilience is kind of like a research action. It discards the lowest card, but it's where they're the most companies and the most employees are. So that will discard effective robots. Now they'll also do a company in yellow for thinker work. Citizen gets a company on fiduciary media. And now we skip a turn of the human player, and hopefully it will go a little bit smoother from now on. Now it's the exoglobalist player's turn. It's black, the colonel again. They will syndicate on yellow, yellow. The colonel, or black, wants to syndicate yellow, yellow, but it already has a cube there, so it can't syndicate. And they get a solution for infirmity problem. And then the growth for an exoglobal player is a commercialize. The colonel gets the yellow infirmity problem. My turn. I think what I shall do is try to commercialize avatar teachers. It's a green-blue. And green-blue is already viable from the Human Progress play. Also, if we see what green-blue actually, I wanted to turn everything if we switched to two greens in this play in a row at the cutting edge, we'd end up having the dominant sphere being green, which would allow free hiring, which would definitely benefit me and wouldn't help the exoglobal players. This is level 3. I'll go ahead and pay 3 so I can syndicate. This puts my syndication here. I also have to pay for heat. And now my hiring costs will actually be 2 instead of 3 according to the costs will be 2 instead of 3 according to the ability on the avatar teacher's card. So that's my turn. Now it looks like it's Colonel's turn, black. The Colonel will activate its card. It needs to syndicate an orange. That happens to be the first orange card. It's already been syndicated by blue. The Colonel will join in on that. Now black needs to place a company on heat rejection on orange. And that's black's turn. Back to my turn. I was going to commercialize avatar teachers. It cost me 2, but I think I'll cost me 2. I think I better fundraise. It's my first action. My second action will be to hire. It only costs 2. Put it in maker work in yellow, first world. That was my second action. It looks like it's citizen pink. It's turn to go. Pink wants to syndicate yellow, yellow. Pink has already syndicated the only yellow, yellow in the market. So no syndication takes place. It will collect a problem solution. It will collect a solution for mental health. And put it in its victory pile. And it also gets to put a company in blue. It puts a company in blue on maker work. I suppose bandwidth bottlenecks is as good a place as any. And that's Pink's turn. Now it's my turn. I want to commercialize avatar teachers. I have it syndicated. Blue-green is viable in display. I already have a worker. Turns out that all the barriers are covered, so maker work will actually be free. So the cube from here, I'm going to end up, when I commercialize, I'm going to use the green, put the green side in visible in display. So I'll take this cube and put it into a patent on green. Go ahead and add this, and then I need to put my company out there. It needs to go into thinker work. It would be disruptive for education, but I think I'd rather put it in women's health. And now I'll add the idea to the display here. We'll also change the sphere, the dominant sphere, to developing world. So hiring costs are now 0, and green patents are worth double. It looks like pink gets to go first again. It'll activate its card. Needs to find a yellow orange. Looks like spy dust is the earliest yellow-orange. Actually, it might be the only yellow-orange in the market. It has a surge, so pink will also place a surge. There's a yellow surge, so pink also gets a cube, gets to syndicate devolutionaries. Now pink in the for exoglobal players, they don't use the ors, they just take all of them, which means they're going to get 2 problem solutions for green. Pink will get global warming solution and a pollution solution. Gets added to its victory pile. Pink also gets to do the black plus, which is growth, but for the exoglobal player, this looks like a commercial ice, and it will do it in the normal order, bottom to top, left to right. This is the idea that will commercialize, and it will put the left color down in the splay, and the cube just goes back to its hoard. So I'll add yellow to this and try not to knock everything off. So that means green yellow became viable for me. And now it's back to my turn again. Okay, on my turn, I think my goal will be to commercialize arcologies, since it has a green problem, and always nice to have a growth. I think the first thing I better do is get some more money. So I'll fundraise. Take my employee out. Gives me a little bit of capital to work with. Of course, that was one action. I can hire for another action. Since the dominant sphere is developing world, hiring costs 0. So I will hire into my own company for 0. And that does not take an action. And for my second action, I will syndicate. Now it looks like the exoglobal player who goes next will be black, because it has 2 squares out, cubes out. So the kernel will go next. Kernel's going next. This would have been a good time to look ahead, though, because it looks like I'm going to lose my employee. Anyway, so first is syndication, blue-green. That looks like the first blue-green. There's also a heat that needs to be covered. The first impact is artificial consciousness problem solution. I'll take that. Add it to the kernel's victory pile. The next impact is growth, which for a exo global player is basically commercialized. We'll commercialize the card and just put a syndication on. The black cube goes back into the pile for the kernel. And then the card gets added to the display. The heat stays, so the blue's not viable for me at the moment. Card is added to the display with the heat still on. The dominant sphere will change because there's no 2 of any particular thing. So we're back to globalization. Now the last impact is exoglobal recession, so I lose an employee. Sadly, this is the employee I already put out. That's my employee. I was planning on syndicating arcologies. I can probably still do that. First I'll go ahead and hire. This will not take a turn. Cost me 3. That did not take an action. There are 5 barriers on that. This is subsidized work, so it will cost me 5. I've only got 3 money right now. My patents are worth 2 each. I will fundraise. We'll use both my patents, so that'll be 4. Raise 1 more money, gives me up to 5. Do maker work. And now I can do the impacts. I'll go ahead and do slums. I'll take the slums problem. Add it to my non-existent victory pile. Well, I just created something for the victory pile. And I will go ahead and now I can do a growth impact, which will give me 1 more cube. Goes into wealth. I'll go ahead and add the idea to display. I guess I'll go green side down. Gives me a green patent. Oh, that's where it went. Kind of lost track of my blue there. I didn't think it was going to change the... Didn't think it was supposed to change the dominant sphere, but I kind of pushed the blue under there. Okay, so the dominant sphere stays globalization.